Hello, hello! Welcome to Actors Anonymous Podcast. Lots of paper shuffling.
Don't mind me.
It's a busy episode.
Oh my, I'm so busy.
Thanks for tuning in again with us. We love our listeners and we love hearing from you, and we've got a very special show today. Co-hosting with me as always is Mr. Jordan Burbanka.
Yeah, no, close.
What is it?
Burbank, like the city.
Burbank, like
and
the
no,
city.
I did not change my name when I moved to LA, which I get a lot.
Okay. And we have our guest today is the uber talented Mr. Tim Bagley. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
You might know Tim from a bunch of stuff.
Everything.
Everything, basically. Grimm, Shameless, Southland, 1600 Penn, Zombieland, Two Broke Girls, Hot in Cleveland. Bleep, my dad says, Desperate Housewives. Curb Your Enthusiasm. The list goes on and on. He performed with the prestigious comedy group The Groundlings, earning 2 LA Weekly Awards. He's performing one-man shows. His upcoming comedy show? It's on Cabaret, correct?
It's going to be out on Cabaret, downtown.
Downtown, June 14th.
And it's a show called No Actors Allowed.
No actors allowed. But actors can go see the show, correct?
It's 4 actors.
It's 4 actors. Gotcha.
It's based on, I don't know if you are aware of this, but all over town right now, in parking lots, there are signs that say no actors allowed.
Ooh.
And then you go, oh, okay, so this is by a casting office, so actors aren't supposed to park in the lots. So it's always frustrating to me when I see those, and so I put together this show that's basically kind of some of the humiliations and the indignities that we have to endure as actors.
Oh, always. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of things we have to endure and the resistance we face, our theme today is resistance.
Okay, good. And
I want to quote...
I want to fight that right away. I want to fight that.
You want to fight the resistance that's coming out
I want to fight this concept of resistance. See, that's my resistance to the concept. You see how that happens?
This show...
I got in your head for a second there.
This is Inception.
I got in your head. I saw the panic in your eyes. Like, he's fighting resistance?
What am I? This is Actors Anonymous. Thanks for listening.
Changed the whole concept of the show.
The War of Art by Mr. Stephen Pressfield.
You look like you're in Reading Rainbow right now.
Stephen Pressfield wrote The War of Art, and I want to quote from page 57. If resistance couldn't be beaten, there would be no Fifth Symphony, no Romeo and Juliet, no Golden Gate Bridge. Defeating resistance is like giving birth. It seems absolutely impossible until you remember that women have been pulling it off successfully with support and without for 50 million years. Unquote. We encounter so much resistance in our daily lives from the moment we wake up. Our first obstacle, sleepiness. We, however, are sometimes lazy or too smart for our own good. We will form all sorts of excuses so we don't have to face this resistance. Oh, I don't need to find a photographer for my headshot today. I have all week to do it. Or, oh, I can hold off on calling my agents because they are probably too busy this week and I'm kind of scared to talk to them anyway. And you know what? They aren't a good fit and I'm probably going to leave them anyway, so I'll just hold that off and look for new reps later. We instinctively want to avoid resistance. We must change this. In order for us to grow, we must face resistance and lots of it. Just like muscles when we lift weights. If we want to grow bigger, we must slowly add more weight as to build resistance. Page 64 of The War of Art, he's quoting William Somerset Maugham, I believe is the correct. He was a British playwright. Are you familiar with his work at all?
Yes, I did not care for him. No.
I did not care for him. I am leaving the show. Anyway, he was a British playwright, novelist, and short story writer. He was the highest paid author during the 1930s. So there you go. On page 64, quote, someone asked Somerset Maugham if he wrote on a schedule or when he was struck by inspiration. And he said, I write only when inspiration strikes, he replied. Fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp. That's a pro. In terms of resistance, Maugham was saying, I despise resistance. I will not let it face me. I will sit down and do my work. We must push our push. Oh my gosh. We've just recorded like 3 episodes. I don't even know how many.
But
sure,
what were you saying about your puss?
My puss. We must push ourselves. We must push ourselves in the face of resistance. I will push against this resistance. We must learn to develop discipline in ourselves and love that discipline and love the resistance. Everybody knows Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
And
we certainly do in this room. We do. Not everybody does, but we do.
we do. That's true.
He's a governor, right?
Used to be.
Oh,
Used
okay.
to be. But he did this documentary about like pumping iron whenever he
Yes.
was in his heyday,
Yes.
and he talked about how he loved working out. He loved that strenuous part where he likes like the hardest part of lifting, the actual lifting weights, and how difficult it was. And he'd be smiling when he was doing it. He enjoyed that resistance, and he would look around and see other guys, and they're like, "Oh man, I don't want to do this" or whatever. And so that mentality of not enjoying the resistance made them they suppress themselves from how far they can go. And because he loved that resistance, he was able to push himself to even further lengths because he welcomed it. I just thought that was interesting, and I'm sure with your long career that you've had in the business, you've had to face some resistance.
Oh yeah, every day. You always have to face resistance. Whenever you get an audition or you have to memorize lines for a job or whatever it is, there's a there's a part of you that just wants to not do that. But in order to do it, you have to go through the process. So you do have to kind of embrace the process.
Yeah.
And I've gotten so that I actually like the process of auditioning. I like the process of work, and it's frustrating. Like I was telling you, I'm working on this, No Actors Allowed, and getting all those lines in my head, and it's a frustrating day. But I get up in the morning and I know today I have 3 pieces that I have to learn. And I just keep going over and over and over and over until I get them in my memory. And it's kind of like going to battle, or, I think of it like, I'm keeping myself in the cave and I'm fighting the dragon, and I'm going to walk out eventually with that bitch over my shoulder.
Yeah. I love that. I love that tenacity. I feel like you have to have that
Yeah.
as an artist.
And then when you go, when you're preparing for an audition, I always just feel like I know there are people that don't work on it that often, but I really work hard on my auditions so that when I'm sitting in that room, before I go in, I feel comfortable. I'm not worried about it or nervous. I know that I've got this. Like, I've worked on it and I know what I'm doing. So I'm not really nervous. So I just think that fighting that resistance is a natural part of what anybody that wants to experience some modicum of success has to deal with.
Absolutely.
And it's hard, but it is hard. There are lots of times when I think, tonight I have to work on my show. Somebody called me this morning, "You want to go have margaritas tonight?" And I thought, I would love to do that. I would really enjoy margaritas tonight, but I can't. I've got to be in my apartment and slay that dragon.
For me,
That'd be a great excuse. Just
I got anybody Tim.
Yeah.
What, Tim?
Yeah.
I thought you said dragon.
Yes, I did.
For me, my worst enemy is myself, because I'm too smart for my own good sometimes. I feel like, because I'll make excuses and validate them and be like, well, I don't necessarily have to do this right now.
Yeah, that's what we do. When I just came back from like a week in Hawaii, and in my mind I was thinking, I'll look at my script and work on that, while I'm there leisurely, and I'll get a head start on this. I looked at it one day for like 3 hours, and then each day I would think, well, I'll get to it tomorrow. And the next thing I know, my 9 days are gone, and I really haven't worked on it. So I've really had to hustle since I got back. But during that time, I would nap. I would go up to my room to work, and I would nap. I would eat a box of macadamia nuts. I would, do lots of things. I would put more layers of suntan lotion on. I would, it was insane. The things I could
In your
find
hotel
to
room,
stall.
right? No.
Yeah. The ways that you can stall. And then at one point I started feeling like I might be coming down with a cold, and I thought, even my body is like helping me to resist. You know?
I feel that, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that we are obviously our own worst enemies. Then you read about somebody like Judd Apatow who, writes all the time, or Stephen King who writes all the time, or, people like that, and you think, wow, to be that disciplined, is really kind of amazing.
Yeah. For me, I'm a list maker in the mornings, and I have to make a list of what I need to finish by that day. I feel like that helps me. Do you have something like that?
I have a daily list. I've had that for years.
Wonderful.
And I always have a quote that I use at the top of it. And right now, the quote that's at the top of it is a quote by Sean Hayes. And he just said, what are you waiting for? And I just thought that was such a good quote.
What are you waiting for? That's wonderful. Are you originally from California, or did you?
I'm from Michigan. I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then I spent time in Madison, Wisconsin, and Trempealeau, Wisconsin. But I spent like 4th grade through high school in Michigan, Niles, Michigan.
Okay.
So I always feel like that's where I, grew up. And then I moved out here when I was 17.
Wonderful.
And I moved out. I didn't know anybody. I went to Cal State Fullerton and studied art and psychology, and I took an acting class as an elective, and I really liked it.
Wonderful. And from there, you really liked it, and did you I'm going to pursue this? Did you end up majoring it, or did you just?
No, I didn't major in it. I auditioned for a play in college, and I didn't get it. It was The Little Foxes, and I didn't get it. And but I really enjoyed the process. And then I was at the time I got in this group called the Young Americans, which is this like song and dance group. So I started singing and dancing, and then after college, I toured around for 1 year as a dancer with Mitzi Gaynor, and she did like a nightclub act. So it was a year of being on the road and Vegas and all that kind of stuff. And then I decided at the end of that year that I didn't want to dance anymore, that it was actually a skill. It required actual an actual skill. And so I wasn't as good as the other guys, and it was really hard on my body physically.
Yeah.
And so every night everybody would go out, and I was just like, oh no, I got to go take a bath and go to bed. I was just like, it was hard. And so I started studying acting when I finished with Mitzi Gaynor, and I studied with a man named Gordon Hunt, and his daughter was in the class, Helen Hunt. And there was a woman in the class, and her name was Zelda Rubinstein. She's a little person. She was a little lady that was in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And she was there. And so right around that time is when she did Poltergeist. And so I saw somebody go from just somebody in class to suddenly she had an agent, and she was, getting jobs. And with all of the obstacles that she had, that life had given her, I just was very inspired. And I thought, wow, if she could do this, maybe, just maybe I could too, and then I've just, studied a lot and been in classes, and eventually I went through the Groundlings School. At the time, that was the only improv group in town. There was no other school or improv group in town. It was just the Groundlings. And so I took that class and eventually got into the company, and then spent 5 years there from, I guess it was 90 through 95.
Right.
And then I left, and once I left, I started working regularly as an actor. While I was in the company, I did my first acting job, though, which was The Mask with Jim Carrey. And then when I left, I did a job, a series, my first series, which was with Howie Mandel, and it was called Sunny Skies, and it was shot in Canada with BBC, and it was a sketch show. And then after that, I thought, I don't want to do any more sketch, and I just moved on to other things.
The Mask for me is one of those first movies I saw when I was younger.
Okay.
And it was like, oh my gosh, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like that kind of comedy and entertainment value from a film, it always resonated with me. I was a little kid and it hit me. What part did you play in that?
I played, there was two of us and we were mechanics. And I think my name was Irv. I don't remember, or I think I was Irv. And Jim Carrey's character came, his car broke down or something, and he came to a shop and we gave him a loaner and he took the loaner out and it died or something. And that's when he saw the mask. And then he came back and he got even with us.
Oh yeah.
And we were the first ones. We were the first ones that he got even with.
That's awesome. I just love that. Like, it's very nostalgic. It's like I would have never guessed in a million years that we'd be having this discussion together. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just really cool. It makes me like, there's a warm feeling. I don't know how to describe it inside. I got really weird right now.
I felt the same way actually, because I remember watching you on Will and Grace, and I used to I loved that show, and you were one of the funniest characters on there. There's like the reactions that you gave on those kind of like those scenes were just like, I just remember like me and my family used to watch that show like religiously, and we used to laugh hysterically at that.
Well, I mean that show, I felt like, you know, Max Muchnick and David Cohen wrote these amazing scripts. And they had a really good group of writers. And then Max Muchnick had just such a strong vision of how he wanted it to go. And so to me, it was such an easy job because the lines were so funny. I remember there was one time when I had a line where all I had to do was walk in and say, this is a great old-fashioned piano party or something like that. And then there was, and then the next line, the way it was written, it said, you know, I'm uncomfortable and I don't know why. And then I just leave. And I just thought that's such a real kind of moment that we've all experienced. And so I didn't really have to do anything. You just say the line and people laugh, and it's, you know, when it's really good writing, that's kind of what it is. I remember one time I had to learn how to play the piano, and I played "Enough is enough, is enough, is enough, is enough," and then Karen yells, "That's enough!" And Deborah and I couldn't do that without laughing when she says that's enough. And so you see, actually, our backs going like, you know, shaking. You know, I mean, it's really unprofessional. We totally laughed when Karen said that's enough, but you know, I guess they didn't have a take where we weren't laughing.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
How do you has the way you, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the word for this now. The way you approach a role changed over the years?
Well, I mean, I study all, you know, I still study. But I have the way that I work. And so it changes and it alters and I learn something new. But I also think with each job, something is different. And so you have to look at it differently. Sometimes it's just, you know, sometimes the job, it's an area that you've been to before.
Right.
But sometimes it's a part of yourself that you've never really looked at or explored. And so it's a matter of kind of bringing that part up and being kind of comfortable with it so that you can kind of expose yourself in that way in the room for the audition. Do
you feel whenever it's a part of you that you haven't explored, that resistance you feel, how do you break through that? Or do you use it somehow? Or is it uncomfortable sometimes, or it's scary?
I mean, yeah, I think that a part of all of us who are actors, we want to reveal ourselves. And then in the process of that, sometimes things are just more difficult. You know, for me, one of the challenges has been, you know, I've had a whole life of learning how to deflect, you know, what I feel with my sense of humor, with comedy. And so then when you do a dramatic role and it really requires you to be connected emotionally, that I had to go back and take classes to kind of learn how to do that, because it wasn't my natural instinct. My natural instinct when I am upset or whatever is to deflect it with comedy. So, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I mean, to me, the resistance is just your own natural instincts, whatever it may be, where you say, no, I don't want to go there. But the thing that always overrides that is, as an actor, you really do want to go there. So it's just a matter of figuring out how.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. And I think you have to have such an awareness of yourself and control
Absolutely.
over yourself to be able to really pinpoint and identify the problems that you're facing with.
Absolutely.
I think the more you study and the more you grow and experience and the more you try things in class, the more you'll become more tuned to that. Do you agree maybe?
Absolutely.
Because people who don't have like that kind of sensitivity or awareness are probably like, well, how do I get to that level to even begin to pinpoint it?
And just the goal is always to be kind of open emotionally and aware of yourself. You know, a lot of us do what we can to hide ourselves, you know, and the goal, I think, to be a good actor is to really figure out how to reveal yourself.
Yes. I mean, that's the challenge. It's, that's the challenge. Absolutely.
I wanted to ask,
yeah, please,
because we were talking about, like, a lot of what we talk about here too is when a lot of people who are listening in, they're trying to get their acting career on a path where we had talked about this not too long ago too, where you go from all your odd jobs to your full-time career as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
You've had some unique positions in the past, and I think you actually said you have a play based off of having worked at the Playboy Mansion.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Can you tell it, like, how do you get a job like that? Like, what was that like?
Well, that job, I mean, back, you know, when I was, you know, I really ended up quitting a regular job in '95 when I got that first TV series.
Mm-hmm.
But before, and then I've worked since as an actor, so I haven't had a regular job since. But up until that point, you know, I had a long time where I just had multiple jobs, and all my jobs, the logic behind them, it always had something to do in my mind with show business, you know, where I could learn something. I was a page at Paramount, so that, you know, I would stand there and I would watch Jim Burrows direct people on Cheers and watch those actors and watch the writers and get such a strong sense of that. So that then years later when I worked on Will and Grace with Jim Burrows, I knew exactly how he worked. You know, so I felt like none of that was wasted time.
right.
I felt like even I was a reader at a court reporting school, and I felt like that wasn't wasted time because I would have to cold read instantly. You know?
Wow, that's really
That's amazing. There's always stuff to draw upon from an actor. We actually are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more questions and a very, very fun game. Oh, wait.
And I'll tell you more about the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah, I want to know that story. Sam.
I want to hear more about that. That's a really creepy way to end this segment.
Let's go to commercial break.
You've been nothing but creepy.
I say that
This Saturday,
basis,
June
Tim.
13th, anti-bullying organization Stand for the Silent is holding a charity event to raise money to continue its work with children across America and talk to them about anti-bullying. All information can be found at starbellish.com, STARBELSHE.com. It's this Saturday, June 13th at the Avalon in Hollywood, 1735 Vine Street, Los Angeles, California.
Whether it's wearing a Speedo on national television, getting a bird caught in his wig during a network run-through, or getting cast as an international terrorist serial killer who only kills supermodels, Tim Bagley tells the true tales about navigating his way through the humiliations of being an actor in Hollywood in his new one-person show, No Actors Allowed. General admission is $20, and you can find tickets available right now on uncabaret.com.
We are back.
No, he actually came back, sorry.
Continuing our discussion, the Playboy Mansion.
Yes.
Yes.
So you asked me how I got a job at the Playboy Mansion.
Well, no, yeah, I love that, like, all of your jobs that you had I think that's something great to tell, like, especially like our listeners and stuff. Like, if you're acting, like, make sure you can relate it to the industry, kind of thing. But I am curious about that one as well.
I mean, I just did all different kinds of things. I remember one of the jobs was I worked back then. There were answering services, and I worked at an answering service for somebody, two guys named T99 and Blueberry Muffin. And I didn't realize till about a week in that they were pimps. And then I realized what was going on. But the reason I kept the job for a while was because I got $15 an hour under the table, which was a lot back then. And I didn't have to, report it. And so I felt like I was screwing the government. And it just felt fantastic at the time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
T99?
And Blueberry Muffin. And he used to say, Blueberry Muffin. Blueberry Muffin. And so now whenever I see a blueberry muffin or when I order one, I always want to say, y'all have the blueberry muffin.
I don't know how you kept a straight face.
Well,
he's a pimp, so I'm sure
he was a pimp, so I was always a little frightened. But anyway, so that wasn't really a show business job, but it was more like, okay, I liked that I didn't have to report that money.
Right.
But the Playboy Mansion one, I got that because actually the lady that I mentioned before in my acting class was Zelda Rubinstein, and she knew that I needed a part-time job, and she knew the head butler at the Playboy Mansion. So I went and interviewed with them, and it was pretty easy. They asked me if I was comfortable around different kinds of people, and they asked me, several things. They asked if I had a black vest, and I said, no, I don't. And they said, could you get one by Friday? And I said, yes. And then, I worked Friday and Saturday and Sundays at the Playboy Mansion for a year. And
how did that spawn a show for you?
Well, I'll tell you, I was laying in bed, and there was one, and I was reading a book about the Playboy Mansion, and one of the playmates, her name was Deborah Jo Fundren, she wrote on there in this book, there were butlers all around, but it was like they weren't even there. And I remember laying there in bed thinking, oh no, Deborah Jo, I was there. I saw you. And I thought, I saw a lot of things and learned a lot of things. And so I just started writing these stories, and eventually I, put them on little cards, and I put them in an order that kind of flowed, and I ended up putting it together in a show.
Wow. And I love that, because I think more people should do that. I think more people, if you're really upset with your day job, especially if it's like something you're stuck 9 to 5 doing and you have to miss an audition and stuff like that, use that to your advantage in a way.
Yeah, I write a lot of stuff down. The show that I'm working on right now is basically a group of stories where I've felt minimized or challenged as an actor, because I feel like we have to do whatever we can to get our power back. And so it's, it's just this way in writing these stories, it's kind of kept me from lashing out at some poor bank teller that, doesn't know where I'm coming from. Do you know what I mean?
I said,
when
I
it's
want
like,
a deposit.
Yeah, or I will not pay that $4. And it's like, she doesn't know that I just got really screwed over on a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just feel like as an actor, so many things happen to us. And so I just always write them down and see what I can, learn from them. One of the stories that I actually tell in the show, that I talk about in the show, was my very first audition for a television show. I walked into the room and there was a broken terrarium in the middle of the room. And I'm going to just give you a real short version of this. I asked what happened, and the casting director just got so mad. She was like, if one more actor asks me about the broken terrarium in the middle of the room, I'm going to lose my mind. And I felt horrible about it for years. I felt terrible. Like, why would you ask her about that, Tim? Like, what's the matter with you? You're there to audition. And then, years later, I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden I thought, why wouldn't I ask about a broken terrarium in the room? It's like the most natural thing in the world. It's a broken terrarium in the middle of the room. Of course I'm going to ask about it. And so then what ended up happening was I ended up using that so that almost like a metaphor, so that for my entire professional life. So if I'm in a situation and, I'm in a casting director's office and we're reading and she's, eating a sandwich while we're reading, or she's breastfeeding her child, or, she tells me that, they don't really think that I'm right for this, but the producers wanted them to meet with me. I always just think, okay, it's the broken terrarium in the middle of the room, and I got to navigate my way around it. I'm not going to let it rattle me or get in my way. So I kind of look at whatever the experience is and see what I can learn from it,
Absolutely. There have been times where a casting director has been like, we don't think you're right, but the producers like you.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. Why would they even utter those words?
We love you, but we just don't think you're right for this. But the producers wanted us to see you, so that's why you're here. And it's like, rather than letting that get in my head, or having a little Shih Tzu dog growling at me while I'm reading with somebody, every time I raise my voice, it's going, and I just think, okay, that's the broken terrarium in the middle of the room. I'm gonna ignore that little dog. It can growl all at once,
I was going to ask you, what's your worst audition story? But
I had no. I have had so many. I have had so many.
You've gone out at least 12 times, so I'm sure there's one of those.
Oh no! I mean, it's been a whole lifetime of nightmarish stories.
Please, I think it's so important.
I'll tell you one that was really awful for me.
Yes.
I was auditioning for The Closer, starring Kira Sedgwick, and and how do I say this really quickly? I was auditioning for the role of a man who rapes and mutilates Latina women, and in this scene, I've got a Latina woman, that I'm using as a body shield, and I've got a gun to her head, and I'm negotiating with Kira Sedgwick, surrounded by police cars. I look up at the helicopter, and it and then I look back at Kira Sedgwick and I say, "You bitch," and then I point the gun at her, and then on the sides, on the script, it says end scene. So I go in there thinking, okay, so we end there. But I read on and I discovered that there's a sharpshooter, in the helicopter, and he shoots me in the head. And in slow motion, the character that I'm auditioning falls to his death, releasing the Latina woman, thank God. So at the audition, I get to that part where I look up at the helicopter. I look at the casting director who I'm reading with, and he's, reading with kind of a Southern Kira Sedgwick-y voice, which was weird anyway. And then I say to him, "You bitch," and I point the gun at him, and then I'm waiting for somebody to say, "Thank you, Tim," and nobody's saying anything. I'm looking at the casting director. I look over at the producers. I've still got the gun out, and I'm looking at everybody, and nobody's saying anything. And I don't know what I was thinking, why I said this, but for some reason I went, kaboom! And then I kind of clapped over my head, and then I kind of fell back in slow motion, and I heard one of the executives go, "Oh," and she stifled a laugh, and then I looked at the casting director, and he was looking at me like, "Why the fuck did you say kaboom?" And then what I ended up doing was I just didn't know how to deal with it, so I scampered out of there like a frightened deer into the woods. Then I ran into him months later, and I said, "What? I'm so sorry. What did you think when I said kaboom?" And he said, "I thought, how unfortunate." And I was so humiliated and embarrassed. But here's the good news. I thought, he will never call me back in again. But he did, and I booked a job with him. So the good news for actors to me is that a casting director, you can have a really horrible audition, and it doesn't mean that you're a bad actor. They'll know if you just had a bad audition. And the big lesson for me there is always prepare something. Even if it says end scene here, you have to have some kind of out. You can't just assume that they're going to say thank you. You know, I don't know. I should have had something planned and I didn't, and that's what my instincts went to kaboom, which makes no sense. So
it's the hand gesture.
So that was, I've had a whole lifetime of embarrassing auditions and moments and situations. I mean, I think that a part of being an actor is that it's you're putting yourself out there, and there's always things that happen. I mean, even something as simple as going to the grocery store and, you know, somebody saying hello and you looking at them like, I feel like I might know that person, but I don't really know. You go home and all of a sudden it strikes you. I read for that person last week. That's a casting director, and I read for them. And in the moment in the grocery store, I was confused. And then it's embarrassing. I mean,
yeah.
Don't you have stuff like that?
Yeah.
I will tell you something that happened to me recently. I was in the In-N-Out line, and I was giving the cashier my credit card.
In-N-Out burger?
Yeah.
And yet you're drinking, what is that? So I thought you were like really healthy.
It's In-N-Out. It's just the healthiest fast food I can get.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Well, no.
Let's talk about resistance.
I will resist.
Let us talk
you guys
about resistance.
Are you kidding me? In-N-Out's super good.
It doesn't matter if it's literally like a Thousand Island dressing.
No,
like,
I don't get it with
burger, bread and like all that.
I get it. Protein style, the meat patties, no cheese, extra tomatoes,
Why don't you
onions.
just make that at home?
have
It's
the
not
bun?
a burger.
No, protein style. Sometimes I have a bun if I'm feeling naughty, but usually it's protein style.
I'm feeling naughty.
I feel naughty.
So salacious.
Wow. So revealing. So
French
revealing.
fries.
Oh, and those French fries don't. If you're gonna have French fries, put a little salt on them.
We just became enemies, Tim.
Oh my god.
I love it, and oh my gosh.
You like their French fries?
I love their French fries.
Oh, I think they're the worst.
It's getting heated in here.
Where
think
do
they're
you
the
prefer, sir?
I don't eat fast food.
Oh, well,
if somebody put a gun to my head and said you've got to go eat fast food, what I would do probably is drive out to Toluca Lake and go to Bob's Big Boy, knowing that it's fast food, but it somehow is still connected to my heart from my childhood.
Okay. You know what? You said the childhood thing, so I'll give you some leeway there. But it's still like, I think In-N-Out's a little healthier than big.
Healthier is not a word I'd use for any type of fast food place.
I agree.
Okay.
But you're somebody that obviously is healthy.
Yeah.
I don't go there every night.
You're healthy. You just were misguided. You're just misguided. Do you have a chocolate shake?
No, I don't like shakes.
What do you drink there? Do you take your little fancy South African tea and have that with your
South Africa? That was very specific.
If you're not feeling naughty?
No, I'll sometimes have an Arnold Palmer or maybe the animal style fries if I'm really naughty.
Animal style fries. What is that?
Oh man.
I'm
about to
what do you
open
mean
the world.
animal?
Cheese melted on top with Thousand Island dressing and grilled onions on top.
Okay, that sounds horrible to me.
Yeah,
You know how good it tastes?
I can have like a few and then I'm like, I can't do this. This is just, if you're gonna eat, I don't like fries that are just piled. Like, it's just like,
This
there's
is
too
your
much
last
effort
episode.
to clean. She got me hooked on Five Guys. That one's like,
Oh, I've been to Five Guys. I know, but I think all of it is
You were
really
so
bad.
offended.
But I have been there.
Oh,
and-
Five Guys is great.
That's great. But I mean, if you're going to do it. Like their French fries, to me, at least they have.
Like healthy French fries.
I wouldn't say that.
backtrack.
Okay. I would say they're healthy.
I'm about to flip out. I'm kidding.
you're
But
listening to
you
this and
started to
driving.
say something. You started to say,
Yeah, I was in the In-N-Out line handing my cashier the my credit card or whatever. You were talking about embarrassing moments.
Mhm.
And I don't know why this came out, and he's like $8.97 or whatever, and I was like, Juju. I called him Juju. I was like, Juju, I wanted to say thank you, and I just slurred my words, and I was like, Juju, and the look on his face was priceless because he was like,
yeah.
and
What does that mean?
And I was just like,
It's just,
take it.
Oh my God.
Please, let's ignore this thing that just happened.
Oh
please.
my God. Yeah,
That was the whole
God.
story. It wasn't.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
that's my life though. Like I cannot talk to people. There's certain, I'm like, if I'm like, especially I just started working at this new place and the people are awesome. They're crazy. And it's like the first time I'm in there and I'll be like, I'm one of those people that I'll think someone's like listening to me and then they'll like turn around and they're like not they'll like walk away. And I'll be like, hey, can I just get and
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
literally happens to me on a daily basis. I'm like, do I exist?
There was a show that I did years ago called Rewind, and I remember Sherry Shepherd was on it, Maestro Clark, and somebody else. Anyway, I think we shot like 5 episodes, and Peter Roth was the executive, and there was a meeting going on, and it was a big fancy meeting, and so they had the actors just kind of hang around. So I was kind of at the end of the studio, and I was sitting there with my feet up on a chair, and I looked up at, and Peter Roth was walking right towards me, and I just knew he was going to say to me, good job, or you're doing great, or whatever. And he came right up by me, and then he said, excuse me, because he wanted to get around me. And I said, thank you. and then he kind of looked at me like, what? And then I moved my legs so he could walk around me. And then I realized that he didn't just compliment me. He just said, excuse me. But in my head, I heard, you're really good. And then I was horrified by that. Now, I've since seen him, and he's always great to me. But that was the first time I met him, and that's the first time I ever spoke to him. And it was one of those. But like I say, as an actor, I feel like there's always those things.
Yeah, absolutely. All the time.
I feel like that's not written into enough stuff, too. Like, I often anticipate conversation, and I'll always do that whole, like the same thing where you just, like, know what someone's going to say, and then you're wrong, but you have that instinct to, they'll be like, oh, you're welcome, and I'll be like, thank you. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
that's not what you were asked. That's
yeah,
not
right.
Yeah, that should be written.
Juju.
Juju.
And then the other thing about Juju that's so horrible is that it's like the connotations. It's just like I'm hoping that the person was not Jewish, and I don't know what why that came out, but sometimes things happen.
It happens. We have a very. This is our first time playing this game.
This is your test trial. Sam's introduced me to this.
This is a new game, and it's a test game. We're gonna see how it goes. Okay.
All right.
It's really interesting, and it involves a little improv on both our parts, and
All
I think
right.
that would be appropriate since of your experience. So we're gonna read off, or Jordan
It's
is
called Tweet Pitch.
tweet
I
pitch.
just named it right now.
Oh boy. Okay.
He's gonna read off 3 random tweets we found on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
First round, I'm gonna listen to those 3 tweets. And I'm going to pitch a movie idea or a TV show to you from those 3 tweets and try to connect them all together. And you're going to be like the TV exec, if you will, and be like, I like it. I've got a great name for this show or movie. And
Can I add ideas to it?
Yeah,
Ooh,
please.
Okay.
Please.
All right.
And then
like
the way we cap it off is the executive, you, for this round, you have to have the title for it.
Okay.
It's like a pitch meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if there's 3, so we can always swap if you.
Yeah,
want to do
if
pitch
the first one goes well,
It's up to you.
we'll switch.
This could be a disaster.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
This could be a horrible disaster. But
It's-
I'm game.
I'm nervous, but I like it.
I'm not nervous. We're going to be fine. You know why? It's all make believe. It's just play.
No, there are people out there ready to kill us.
Oh, all right. All
If
right.
it's bad, just go boom.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
And we read off the usernames of the tweets.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah.
Cool.
We'll give them credit.
We'll give
Don't
them
worry.
credit. Yeah.
At follower no dad says, in the most on-brand moment of my whole life, I dropped and cracked my phone while trying to carry too much cheese and bread.
Wait, in the most on-brand time in my life?
On-brand moment of my whole
What's
life.
that mean?
On-brand.
On-brand moment.
I think. Well, let's analyze this.
What
first.
does no dad mean by in my most
Should it
on-brand?
be-
Meaning
should it
like
be
the
like-
most. What does that mean?
I don't think the follower no dad is just the name,
I know,
but
but what does
most on-brand moment of my whole
on-brand
life.
moment of my whole life?
I think that
On-brand
means
maybe like the most.
poignant. Like
Okay.
I think
or
it means
most
like-
important.
Sure. That's the way I'm going to interpret
Okay.
it.
okay.
Yeah.
And so the most on-brand moment of my life. Then what?
I dropped and cracked my phone while trying to carry too much bread and cheese.
Okay.
Too much bread and cheese. Okay.
At Reverend_Scott says, if someone is better at something than you, learn from them, let them teach you, or bathe in their blood so you can absorb their power.
Okay.
And do you want to do 3? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
At Puddin Strip says, sorry, I had to unfriend you on Facebook after you accepted my Facebook friend request 1 second after I sent it to you at 3 in the morning.
Say that one again.
Sorry, I had to unfriend you on Facebook after you accepted my Facebook friend request 1 second after I sent it to you at 3 in the morning.
Okay.
And what is that person's name?
At Puddin Strip.
Thank you, at Puddin Strip. Tim, I got a great movie idea for you.
Okay, all right.
You know the classic Eddie Murphy movie, Vampire in Brooklyn?
I've heard the name.
You've heard the name. Okay. We're going to make a sequel to it, man.
Okay.
You know, where that vampire is still alive. Eddie Murphy's playing Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
And it's set in the
He
new
plays
age.
himself. Sorry.
No, he plays the vampire in the movie.
Oh.
And it's set in the new age of, you know, everything's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is he's, you know, seeing all these like possible friend requests, Eddie Murphy is, on Facebook, and then he finds a person and then he decides, oh, I want to be friends with them. They look like, you know, a good piece of meat or somebody to, you know, drink their blood. And he sends a friend request and they end up blocking him. And so he goes, oh no, you didn't do that to me. And so he ends up trying to find them and trying to bathe in their blood. And he does. And he starts sending them all these different friend requests. And the person, it's like a thriller kind of, you know, kind of thing. And we can have Brad Pitt play the person he's trying to reach out to. And this is gold.
And the band played on while the Titanic sank.
And we can, you know, have the trailer, have a bunch of, you know, like fast moving shots, kind of like Twilight. And then like the button on the trailer could be like Brad Pitt and he's holding all these, you know, breadsticks he's carrying to his family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then his phone rings and it's the, you know, it's Eddie Murphy, you know, and he's like, I'm coming to get you. And he drops the phone slow motion and all the bread kind of drops and he's in the middle of Times Square, you know, very cinematic. Well, what do you think, Tim?
Well, I think we could call it Bad Blood. I
like it.
Yeah.
Bad Blood, great.
Yeah. I don't know that Eddie Murphy is going to want to do another vampire movie. But
at this point, who knows?
You know, maybe we can get a younger version of
Kevin
Eddie
Hart?
Murphy. Sure.
Okay. This was all right?
I think it's better if you did too.
Okay.
We'll do one more.
And then what you kind of do is you kind of mesh them together.
Yeah. We're trying to connect
great.
them all.
Okay, great.
Well, you want to try one?
Do you want to pitch?
I like you doing it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We'll do
I
one
like
more.
watching it on your face.
We'll do two because it's hard to remember these because they're long.
Okay, we'll do two. And then we've got one listener question, and then we will wrap it up.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. The year is 42,069. We've stopped changing the date. It's just always the year 42,069, and people spell their names with emojis. It's awesome.
Okay.
That was at Paperwash.
At Paperwash.
Um,
You're familiar with the emojis?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, God, which one's better? Okay. At LisaBug74. Started my new healthy diet today. Breakfast is 2 almonds. I lick an apple for lunch. And dinner is yelling at my picture of myself naked.
And
what's this person's name?
At LisaBug74.
Oh, poor Lisa. Poor Lisa Bug.
Can you say her last tweet again?
Started my new healthy diet today. Breakfast is 2 almonds. I lick an apple for lunch. And dinner is yelling at my picture of myself naked.
Okay.
A lot of self-loathing with this.
A lot of self-loathing. Okay. Tim, I got a great new TV show for you. It's like Breaking Bad meets Clueless meets the Taking of Deborah Lang, which is a horror movie.
Okay.
It's a psychotic thriller, okay? So the show starts off as this young and aspiring model, okay? Think a young Tina Fey, if you will. We make people think, oh, it's going to be a comedy, you know?
So she's funny.
Yeah, so she's funny, but then...
And smart.
And smart, yes.
Okay.
And quirky a little bit. But then it turns, okay? Where she's at the modeling agency, and the modeling agency is like, listen, you bitch, you need to get skinnier, okay? And it takes a dark turn. Right? And then her world starts getting darker and she starts throwing up. She starts, you know, trying to get skinnier. And
can her name be Puppy Dog Sad Face Heart Shape?
yeah, I was getting to that. I was getting to that.
Okay, sorry.
People start giving her the name Puppy Dog Sad Face
Heart Shape.
Heart Shape. And it's spelled, it's not spelled like with letters, it's spelled with
Emojis.
Emojis, exactly. You get it. You get it.
Sure.
And then
That makes perfect sense.
that makes perfect sense. And then as all this is happening inside the modeling agency, because we've gone maybe 20 minutes in the air, the camera pans out and we're in the future. And the year is 42,000
and 69.
and 69. And it's, very futuristic.
So we've stopped counting years. It's just kind of that period where it's all the same.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah, we could definitely add that in. Very Blade Runner-esque.
Well, that was in there. Go ahead.
Calendar stores are no longer needed.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And so we were going to do a lot of kind of metaphysical kind of things where she's looking at her dinner and it's yelling back at her. You can't eat this. You won't eat me. You need to get skinnier. And she's naked and stark, and it becomes very artsy and stuff. We want to meld a lot of different styles into this. What do you think?
Well, I like it. I wonder if there's any way that you can somehow incorporate emojis into her life. Maybe she's got friends that are actual emojis.
Oh.
Her little imaginary friends, maybe. Because I'd like to see those two little girls that kick. The emoji of the two little girls that kick. Do you know that one?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I'd like to see them come to life and see just what that's all about.
Right.
I want to know what that relationship is and who they are to her. Now, I will say this. I don't know that Tina Fey's the right talent for this property.
Really? Okay.
I think that she might be too smart and a little too old, maybe a little too wise. I don't know that she's going to just lick an apple.
We don't know that until we ask her, but sure. I mean, whatever.
We don't know that, but we know she's a pretty smart girl.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Smart.
So who are you thinking? Do you have any actresses you think would be a good fit?
I would like for us to find somebody new, somebody really young, new, open to all ethnicities.
Right. Ethnically diverse.
Okay. Ethnically diverse. Do you have anybody that comes to mind?
The girl who was in Avatar, who played the lead blue girl, the blue
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
Well, again, she's great, but she was around the right age then, but that's a long time ago. I think we need to go really younger. I'm thinking like an executive.
I'm panicking. I'm panicking here, Tim.
You want them to be really young.
Really young.
Oh, like a young Gomez. What's her name?
Selena
Gomez. Like a young.
That's fair.
That's the world I'm from.
Great. Like before Dakota Fanning grew up.
And then there's exactly.
Now we're on the same page.
Elle Fanning.
I was thinking for the title, maybe.
Yes.
An emoji.
Oh, that's good. What would the emoji be doing?
It's
winking with its tongue out?
Yes, the tan colored ones.
Okay.
The ones that have come out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I didn't even think of a title for this. I was just drawn into your story.
Could we call it 42,069 and have the circle in between be that emoji?
I think we could do that.
And I like that. I really like that.
I like it.
Coming to theaters this fall.
Guys, this might be the last time we play this game.
Certainly entertaining for me.
We gave it a shot.
I enjoyed watching you.
I'm glad somebody enjoyed watching me. You know what? We'll let the listeners decide whether they want to hear more of these pitches.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you have? A listener?
We do have a listener question.
Are they listening to it right now? I don't think
No, it's not live.
Oh,
no, it's pre-recorded. But Christian, his Twitter handle is @powerbitch_mode, asks, how do you take creative risks?
How do you take creative risks?
Yeah. It's kind of a broad question.
I just think that you have to always kind of, honestly, I'm going to answer it honestly. I think you always have to kind of be brave. I know for me, I started out very shy and kind of contained. And I feel like my whole goal as an actor is to be, push past my comfort level.
Right.
Anais Nin said, life expands and contracts in proportion to one's courage. And so it suggests that everybody's afraid, but that it's the ones who are able to act within that fear, push past that fear and not let it stop them. They're going to experience a more successful and expansive life. So I always like that quote because it suggests that we all have to just be brave. And when you're the natural resistance is to fight that, I say fight it and push through that wall and go for it and just take a risk.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Are we out of time? We are wrapping up on time. Tim, thank you so much for coming on the show. If I know we've talked about so many good things and there's so many gems that you spoke of, but one piece of advice you can give to the struggling artist out there, if we haven't hit upon it already, is there anything you would say?
I would say study. A lot of people want to just kind of hit success, and I would say prepare yourself with a craft, like take cold reading, take scene study classes. Yes. If you want to be an actor, take improv classes, do whatever you can so that when you get that opportunity, you are prepared for it. And it's not like, okay, I've got a friend who really literally, he won't take classes. He says that once he starts working, he's going to take classes, but he hasn't started working. And I always feel like
that's interesting. Saying
to him that the logic behind that is faulty. So I say, take classes, work, and the more you work, the more work begets work.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Tim, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. If people want to find you on Twitter or the interweb, do you have any any way of reaching out to you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. Or as you say, Twitter. I'm at I am Tim Bagley, and then I have a website, timbagley.com.
Okay.
And I'm not going to give my email address because that's none of your fucking business.
Wow, that's the last time I asked.
It's Blurberry.
Blueberry muffin.
Can that be my text message ringtone?
Sure. Can we have both those names as our names on the show now?
Which one do you want to be? T99?
T99.
Yeah, he wants to be T99 so that he can call you Blueberry.
You've got some work coming up August 5th, Mr. Robinson, a TV show, correct?
Yes, a TV show on NBC, and it's Craig Robinson's show. And we shot 6 episodes.
Oh,
and so we're, waiting to hear if that gets picked up. And then I also shot 10 episodes of a show called Teachers, which is going to be on TV Land. And that, I think, comes out sometime in January or February.
Wonderful.
Awesome. And you have an upcoming show still.
This show. Oh, also an upcoming movie, Imperfect Sky.
Cool.
But and then this is No Actors Allowed, which is Sunday the 14th. At Uncabaret. You can go to uncabaret.com to get tickets. Tickets are $10 to $30. And it's at 710 West 1st Street, which is on the corner of Hope and 1st Street in downtown LA.
Wonderful.
Right.
And can we hold it up for the camera?
Yes. Right there.
There.
That's it.
Great.
And Missy Pyle is going to be there too, the actress Missy Pyle.
Wonderful.
Oh, awesome.
Cool. Jordan, thanks for sticking around today. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Love your co-hosting and your producing skills. Appreciate all your hard work on the show.
I appreciate you, Wissam.
I know. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Twitter, Jordan Burbank.
Burgerbank. At Jordan Burbank 7. I just found out, I was talking to someone at work, and they're like, if someone doesn't use the handle you want in a year, you can actually request it, and they have to give it to you. So I'm getting Jordan Burbank. Jordan Burbank.
Okay, good to know.
We'll fight this to the death.
Is your name real, Wissam?
Yes, it is my real name, Wissam Kish.
He's actually imaginary.
And why did your folks name you Wissam?
The name itself, Wissam, means honorable.
That's odd because you don't seem very honorable.
I'm
kidding. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That was really nice. They
You want to know what my brothers' names were?
Yeah.
William and Daniel. And I asked them, why did their name seem so traditional? And they're like, oh, they were born in the States. And I was like, oh, okay.
Where were you born?
I leave that as a mystery. I don't talk about that.
You really don't?
Yeah, I know where, but I leave it as a mystery. I tell people I'm Mediterranean, so.
But do you guys know where he was born?
No, you guys can't say.
Where?
Do not say it.
Space. He was born in space.
I keep it mysterious. I'll tell you about it after the show.
All right.
Yeah,
I like that. I love secrets.
Yeah. Nikki, thanks for amazing sound engineering and for all the hard work you do on the show with social media. They can find you at Nikki592, correct?
That is correct.
Wonderful. And your hair looks wonderful today.
Thank you.
Everybody's been complimenting your hair, so I feel like I have to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you to GVB Radio. Gabe, thanks for all your hard work. You had something you wanted to add?
No, I wanted to plug that I will be working on a new channel with the Philip DeFranco Show. I just started there recently, and we are going to be doing a new channel. Well, it's a channel that's been around for a while. It's the Philly D channel. It's called Vlogity, and there's a lot of really would you rather and random questions that we're going to be asking. So I might even be on there too. So tune in.
Great. I will be doing something on June 13th, 2015 for Stand for the Silent, Star Bellish Summer Solstice charity event. And basically, Stand for the Silent is an anti-bullying organization, and we'll be raising money for them to be able to tour around the country to high schools and talk about anti-bullying.
You know, that sounds very honorable.
Oh, well, thank you, Tim.
Like
I'm just absolutely such an honor, actually, to be part of that and be able to help out. Tickets
awesome.
Are available at starbelsh.com. Starbelsh.
You might want to spell that.
I know. I am.
Take your time. We're recording it. It's good.
starbelsh.com. And it's at the Avalon in Hollywood, 1735 Vine Street, Los Angeles, California. It should be a great event. Lots of stars. You get to meet people. It's a gala. Dress up. It's fun. You're raising money for a good cause.
Great.
And thank you to our listeners. If you have any questions, hit us up on Podcast AA for Twitter, our website, actorsanonymouspodcast.com. Subscribe to us. Share. This podcast is for you. And thank you so much again for listening. Love to hear from you guys. Always remember.
I almost forgot.
Always remember to listen, think, and then talk.